Hello there once again, it's your old pal Locke, the Bounty Hunter, and on today's very special episode, we are diving into the decrepit rabbit hole of TikTok to take a look at some women who are legitimately confused as to why men are walking away from dating and going their own way. It truly is a wonderful thing. We've got some great cringe lined up, so let's go ahead and dive right in, shall we?
So apparently there's a male loneliness epidemic right now.
All right, I have a serious question about this.
Do tell.
First, is the loneliness stemming from a lack of physical intimacy, or is it stemming from a lack of emotional connection? Because those are two totally different things.
Wrong! Well, from a biological standpoint, for men who are looking for legitimate romantic companionship, physical intimacy actually increases the emotional bond with a woman. Now, Chad, Tyrone, Raphael, Takeda, Chang, Wang, and Frank the taxi driver, or the men you typically chase after, they aren't really looking for an emotional bond, and if they are, they're looking for women who are way above your status because you're not really worth it. You talk into a camera for a living and think you're important.
Sex is your prerogative. Hit the gym, work on your paper, and learn the game.
Wow, that's fantastic work, man. You have the wisdom of a 6,000 or 7,000-year-old man. That's fantastic. We don't have to fill up the whole blackboard after all.
Wow, that truly is profound. Get built like a Spartan god and make a whole bunch of money. Yeah, we already know this, woman. We know this because you won't shut up about it. You brag about it. You shame us for being broke. This isn't a mystery.
But if you're looking for something deeper, an emotional connection, and if you're looking for that from women, I have a question for you. Are you willing to change?
I don't know. Are you? Asking men to change is unfair. You're pretty much saying that we need to tailor our lives and our sensibilities in order to be considered good enough for you. But there's a problem with that logic, sister. You aren't worth the effort. Men don't change. We grow. We learn from our experiences and adapt accordingly. And 9 times out of 10, if we are unfortunate to get a woman such as yourself, your treatment of us does force us to grow, to become harder and a lot more distant because we would rather be alone than have to deal with you.
Are you willing to put in the work to heal your traumas?
I don't know, woman. Are you? You don't need to answer that. We already know the answer.
To let go of any bad habits, any toxic behavior, to change the way that you think and the way that you see the world.
Are you listening to the words that are spewing forth from your coping chamber? Woman, you are telling men that they need to completely change their identities in order to be considered good enough for you to emotionally bond with them, despite the fact that your trauma, your body count, and your toxic attitude prevent you from being able to emotionally bond with a man. And I have to admit, it's kind of impressive. Through a sheer combination of willpower, willful denial, and just a complete lack of respect for yourself, you have deluded yourself into thinking that you are the greatest thing to ever grace the planet, and we should be lucky enough to bask in your glory. In order to make that basking happen, we have to completely change our identities just to be considered good enough. But as all gentlemen and gents know, the only glory worth basking upon is the everlasting glorious glory of his gloriness, the intergalactic space god Globetrot. All hail.
Are you willing to listen to women?
Well, we would if you had anything good to say, but you don't. Everything you say is emotional babble. You act like you're superior to men, and yet you lack leadership qualities. You can't maintain society on your own, and you talk down to us while at the same time expecting us to treat you like gods. How do you think that's gonna work?
Because
woman, if you're going to try to educate us, you really need to get your thoughts together before you go on camera. When you take long pauses like that, you don't sound profound. You sound like you don't know what you're talking about.
if you want meaningful connections, if you want to feel seen and heard and appreciated, if you want to have people in your life that inspire you, that motivate you, that you look up to.
God, you really are full of yourself. So you're saying that you are inspiring, that we should be looking up to you? Why? You can't even form a coherent sentence before going on camera. There's nothing with which to look up. So now it's time to ask a question. Why should we look up to you? You have no personality. Your face is wooden. Everything you're saying lacks any type of real emotion. If anyone has trauma and baggage, it's you. Women are not supposed to be acting like this. You put your body through the ringer and you have the audacity to lecture us on how to behave? That is incredibly rich.
That's going to require you to go on this self-love healing journey.
You don't even know what that means. A lot of self-respecting men out there who have gone through significant amounts of trauma actually do deal with their baggage. You know why? We get sick to death of dealing with it. You don't deal with your baggage. You go and gripe to a therapist once every other week as your insurance will allow it, and you consider that work, but you don't do anything. You don't put in any effort to get over those issues because we need to move on with our lives. We have things to do, and we can't do it while dragging 20 billion tons worth of baggage behind us.
Right? Eat, pray, love, that's not just for women.
Yes, it is. Oh, it absolutely is. It is some of the sappiest cliche garbage on the market. And if you find that inspiring, I have to admit, there is no hope for you whatsoever, sister.
Okay? That's for men too.
If I actually had to say the self-respecting man's version of eat, pray, love is, it would be feast, grind, and play. Every meal is a banquet. Every dime we earn brings us closer to our goals. And we actually know how to have fun. You just know how to be incredibly dull.
You gotta do the work.
We are. You're the one who's not.
All right? And quite frankly, it's probably a lot easier just to go and work on your paper and your body.
Well, how do you expect us to work on our paper and our body if we don't have our crap together first? You see, you think that you can do that, and for a little while you can. However, as you get older, it's going to be harder and harder for you to maintain that kind of lifestyle. For men, we can do that for literally decades. We're built for that. You are not.
Read a few books on how to pick up girls.
Woman, how can we find time to read books about picking up chicks when we're too busy reading books about the Roman Empire?
Right? It's way easier to do that than the amount of work that it takes to go through all your traumas and to heal yourself and to forgive and to be in a spirit of openness and to live in a place of gratitude and just to really have that transformation.
You're absolutely right. It is a lot of work, but how would you know? Looking at your emotionless face, we can tell you are nothing but trauma, toxicity, poor life decisions, and a liver that's well on its way to being pickled. You have no idea what you're talking about. We do the work. We have no choice. If we want to be successful, we have to put in the work. For the most part, self-respecting men have to work our asses off to get to where we are. You don't have to because you don't feel like you should. You want men to deal with their issues so they can come in and fix yours at best or deal with it at worst. Self-respecting men aren't willing to do either. It is a waste of time and it's a waste of effort. We have a better chance winning a fist fight against a brick wall.
To be a better person.
Speak for yourself.
That takes so much more work than just going and making some money, right?
Well, in order for us to be able to build up the mental state it takes in order to start up a business, to make money, and to work out, we need to put the issues to bed so we can have the confidence and the proper headspace with which to do it. You have no idea what you're talking about.
Right? Working on your fitness. Are you willing to do that? Are you?
Lady, you have absolutely no idea how insulting you sound right now. You're implying that we are incapable of putting in that amount of effort. Guess what? We are capable and we're doing it. You should be looking in the mirror and asking yourself that question because you know and I know the answer.
Oh, this is just so shocking. I mean, I must just be so monumentally naive.
You are.
Because, let me tell you, a healed man will never be a lonely man.
How do you know? You've never had a healed man in your life.
Ever. So, There are a lot of women out there that are so down to help and to go with you on the journey, but you have to be willing to do it, right? You have to want it. You have to want to change. Nobody can make you do that except for you. So
no, I will agree. There's probably women out there who will support their men while they go through the harsh reality that is unpacking and dealing with significant trauma. I have no doubt about that. But women like you aren't willing to do that. You aren't willing to be at a man's side while he deals with that. You are telling men that they need to go out and get their crap together first, and then you're going to come in and reap the benefits afterwards. And you'll say that it's support, but it's really not. It's leeching. That's all it is.
I'm wondering, you willing to do the work?
We are. You're not.
Or do you want to just be lonely forever? And if you are, that's cool. But just, that's on you.
Wow, you truly are a deep thinker. I can tell you spent all of 10 seconds thinking up that speech. Of course you want to blame us. It's easier for you to blame us than to just admit that you made some terrible mistakes. Because in your eyes, you feel like you can't do any wrong. And so you want to blame us for the current problems that we're facing in our culture. That's not going to work out as well as you think, because men can be successful well into their 70s and 80s, and we can also procreate with younger, more agreeable women well into that age as well. Whereas you, because your ovaries are already turning to prunes, and the men are looking at you saying that you are not worth it. And finally on the menu today, we have one of my favorite failed relationship coaches. This is an old woman who got herself a divorce, now fancies herself an expert. She's going to use her expertise to try to figure out why men are done. This is going to be good.
We hear a lot about the male loneliness epidemic, and we hear a lot about how men are unaliving themselves at rates higher than ever seen before. But isn't there a male anger epidemic that keeps people from reaching and healing that male loneliness?
No, I mean, not really, because you just contradicted yourself. If we're seeing levels of men unaliving themselves at obscenely high rates never seen before in the history of humans, wouldn't that indicate that these men are depressed and not angry? And I also think it's incredibly immature of you that even though we are dealing with a serious issue that many of us will argue whether or not exists, you're also blaming the men for this, despite the fact that you refuse to take any accountability for your contribution in furthering the divide between men and women.
What strikes me is that no matter what message I put out on here and how supportive I make it about men,
which you don't. I've seen your content. If you do make support towards men, it is rare.
I will always get a lot of pushback and negative, angry comments from men.
So internet trolls? You're saying that there is a massive increase in angry men because of your experience with internet trolls? Woman, you put cringe advice on TikTok. You're gonna get some trolls. They've existed since the dawn of the internet. This is nothing new.
And I guess part of it is that the internet is a great equalizer. It's that place where men are no longer invisible. In fact, they're in good company with other men who share their woes. They can band together and create movements like Passport Bros or Men Going Their Own Way.
The internet is not a great equalizer. You see, men who actually join these communities are receiving massive amounts of pushback, not just from militant feminists, but from the websites and the internet itself. This type of content gets buried. Major content creators are constantly either getting their channels demonetized or straight up banned. Their work is censored, and in some cases, they get swatted. This is not equal treatment. Meanwhile, relationship experts, feminists, and simps can all turn around and speak whatever they want towards the people they disagree with, up to and including calls for physical harm, and they are not only given a broader platform, they're practically celebrated for it. So where exactly is this equal treatment?
But does that actually get them any closer towards their real goal of being seen, validated, and accepted?
Oh my dear Lord, woman, you are dense. Okay, so you are saying that men are lonely because they've chose to go their own way or moved to a foreign country to find a wife, or have straight up gone monk and decided not to do anything at all. There is a problem to that logic. These things evolved due to men feeling tired of being lonely and invisible. These movements allow men to find acceptance and validation within themselves instead of searching for it externally. This was the end result, not the cause. And I've never been divorced, so I'm not a relationship expert, but come on, it seems pretty obvious.
And even in my dating journey, I've lost count of how many men I've come across that I knew were struggling. They were battling demons they couldn't even put a voice to.
I hate to break it to you, sister, but you're not supposed to be on a dating journey. You're actually supposed to be living your twilight years with your husband while your kids are off in college and living their own lives. Instead, you are still trying to date, which is a terrible idea. It was never supposed to be that way. You are in no position to be judging men.
And no matter how much kindness and compassion I showed them, no matter how much space I held for them, they were just unable to take that life vest.
Why is it that I find that incredibly difficult to believe? For some reason, you're sitting there saying that you were the noble one trying to help these men, and yet they just wouldn't let you help them. How are you helping them exactly? What was this metaphorical life vest? What kind of support did you give them before you ultimately left them for the next guy?
Because they had so much discomfort around even acknowledging or identifying their feelings.
That's because they're working on their garbage.
What I have found is that so many men are highly unreachable, but also deeply crave being reached.
Yeah, exactly. It's called being depressed and it's called being lonely. That's why a lot of us decided that enough was enough. And instead of trying to get validation from you, which you give out sparingly, if at all, we decided to find it within ourselves. It is a hard journey, but it's worth it. And you are not.
So what's the solution? What is the seed that can start that shift? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
It's already started, and you're being left behind. These men are going their own way to find contentment within their own lives, and you are being left behind because we're starting to realize that even if we wanted to be with you, you have nothing to offer except pettiness, condescension, and lackluster stream of consciousness that you've deluded yourself into thinking was wisdom. It's a growing movement that you cannot understand, and you are not invited because you are too busy trying to blame us for the bad decisions that you made with your life. Sorry, sister, we're done. We're off doing our own thing, and quite simply,
And you won't be invited!
and that is going to do it for today's video, gentlemen and gents. And as always, if you find that my particular brand of comedy is bringing you to the brink of laughter, scroll on down and click that like and subscribe button, and feel free to leave a couple of comments as well. Let's give the good old-fashioned middle finger to the YouTube algorithm. Stay strong and keep the course, gentlemen and gents, and until next time, peace out, homies.